If you've ever wrestled with a stubborn Excel formula or tried customizing a VBA script from a tutorial, this course has explored using Copilot in Excel to enhance your productivity. Now let's talk about a related product that you might find equally handy, Microsoft Copilot. Microsoft Copilot extends beyond Excel, providing a comprehensive generative AI experience across all Office applications and more. While Copilot in Excel focuses on enhancing tasks within your spreadsheets, Microsoft Copilot offers additional functionalities to broaden your productivity horizon. For deep dive into Microsoft Copilot, I recommend checking out Nick Bratzi's LinkedIn Learning course, Streamlining Your Work with Microsoft Copilot. Now, assuming you're using the paid business version, Microsoft Copilot uses your workplace data to generate insights and answer queries similar to what you've seen in Excel. It keeps your data secure within your organization, even as it accesses vast amounts of information trained on the GPT algorithm. So let's kick things off here without any exercise files. Just fire up Microsoft Copilot and follow along. Remember, your results will differ from mine since it customizes its responses based on our individual data. First up, let's throw out a general question to see how it can assist us in Excel. Let's ask, what are some ways I can use you as an Excel tutor? From my experience, it will provide some neat ideas and even links to relevant sources. Next, why not dive a bit deeper? It's fascinating to see it generate a mini tutorial tailored just for your data. Moving beyond specific functions, let's explore broader concepts like the differences between Office scripts and VBA. When I used my own files to inquire about this, the explanation was a bit general, but still quite informative. Next, imagine starting a project from scratch where you need help identifying key performance indicators or KPIs, setting up processes, and more. Here, Copilot is invaluable. For example, if you want to track customer feedback from your consulting engagements, Copilot can guide you on which metrics to monitor and how to efficiently collect and analyze that data using tools like Forms and Excel. Finally, you can also get help with specific Excel files. Right now, there isn't a straightforward way to upload or directly refer to files in Copilot. You can use the dash sign here and get some recently used files, but you can still ask it to try and identify a specific file in your repository, and I've had more luck with this. For example, I will ask it to search for the wages.xlsx workbook, and it usually manages to find it. Once Copilot has located the file, I can ask it to help me get started with something like creating visualizations. The possibilities here are vast, from creating VBA scripts to deciding on visualizations or designing a dashboard. And it's all personalized to your data in a secure work environment, making it a fantastic complement to Copilot in Excel for broader strategic planning and help with Excel. Data profiling is similar to a chef examining ingredients to ensure quality, a crucial step for preparing delicious dishes. This process ensures that your data is primed for analysis, with Copilot acting as a skilled assistant, intuitively assisting with each step. To try data profiling in Copilot for yourself, head to O2 Data Profiling, which is a slightly adapted version of the famous Palmer Penguins dataset. Beginning with the fundamentals, one might query Copilot about the number of rows found in the dataset. Now here I am given the result as a response directly inside Copilot. You may also be given a pivot table containing the number of rows. In either case, you should get 333. This is the number of rows without the header from the table. Next, I'm going to check for the possibility of any outliers in the body mass G column. I will add this resulting scatter plot to my sheet. And by posing this question to Copilot, we are presented with the scatter plot that suggests an anomaly, particularly in relation to the flipper length column. This scatter plot exposes a penguin allegedly weighing a whopping 10,000 grams, which is a deliberately fabricated figure for illustrative purposes. If you spot an outlier through a chart like this, or perhaps other output that Copilot gives you, a good next step is to scrutinize that suspicious data entry even further using techniques such as sorting or filtering, topics we'll explore later in the course. But for now, I will head to go back to table and try to make sense of our categorical variables next. For example, I see an island column, and I just want to double check how many islands are actually represented in this data set. I'll ask Copilot to find the unique values in the island column, and there they are. I could add the resulting pivot table to my worksheet, but I'm going to get even more specific with Copilot and ask for a distribution of the island column. Now, using this prompt, I will get both a chart showing the number of penguins found on each island, and I will also get a description here. So again, make sure that you are experimenting with your prompts and seeing what Copilot has to offer, given different questions you pose to it. You can also use this approach with quantitative variables. For example, requesting the distribution of body mass G prompts Copilot to generate a histogram, enabling the detection of potential outliers. In the hands of those versed in its powerful features, Copilot transforms Excel into a more potent and intuitive tool for data profiling, allowing you to unveil the full narrative of your data. Head to the exercise file O2, O3, sorting, filtering. Here we have some information about a particular product line. I want this data sorted and filtered by price, category, and so forth. I'll fire up Copilot, and the first thing I'll do is head to Sort and Filter, just to confirm to Copilot what it is we want to do here. We'll start by sorting by price from high to low. You'll see that Copilot understands and responds to this query, and you'll even see that the sort button on the header has been manipulated, so it's clear that the data has been sorted. Let's say I want to sort first by status, then by price, so that all the active and then the discontinued SKUs are grouped together. When I submit a query to Copilot, for whatever unstated reason, Copilot is unable to deliver the desired results. In such instances, it's beneficial to refine your prompt to be more specific. For instance, I'll adjust my request to specify sorting by the status column from A to Z, followed by sorting the price column from high to low. Despite these adjustments, it seems Copilot is still not meeting the request. This situation underscores the importance of having a basic understanding of Excel. That enables you to compensate for areas where Copilot may currently fall short. Okay, let's move on to filtering. Maybe instead of moving the discontinued SKUs to the bottom group as with sorting, I want to hide them entirely, so let's tell Copilot to filter out rows where status is discontinued. If you're all done with this view and want to remove all filters, simply prompt Copilot to clear them. Want to sort and filter at the same time? No problem. Here I'll ask for rows where status is equal to active, then I'll sort by variety. Now again, here's a case where I asked Copilot to filter rows where status is active. It gave me the opposite result of discontinued. So use your best judgment and make sure you're aware with what Copilot is giving you. I'll go ahead and use the filter button on my own end to set status to active. As you can see, Copilot transforms data sorting and filtering in Excel from a manual process into an intuitive, natural language-driven interaction, enabling analysts to swiftly organize and scrutinize their data for better insights. I often say that good data, much like money, doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It takes real effort to gather. And a big part of this in data involves pulling together data from different sources. Combining data from different places can be a daunting task that shakes the confidence of many Excel users. The complex mazes of VLOOKUP and now XLOOKUP can be confusing, but here's where Copilot steps in to change the game. Let's take it for a spin with the exercise file, Copilot multiple tables. In this example, we're looking at New York City's population by borough for each decade. The catch is that it's sorted by borough ID and not by the name. While using IDs like this can be computationally useful, it can get tricky when you're trying to work with the data in a practical sense. This is where Copilot can really shine, both as a short-term helper and also as a long-term guide to efficiently manage multiple tables. Let's put it to the test. First, I'm going to select the population table on the left of the worksheet and then open Copilot. To start, I'm going to ask for the population of Brooklyn in 1990. Without the borough IDs properly aligned here, this could be tough to figure out on your own. But with Copilot, we get our answer in a flash. Think about how useful this could be, pulling up data in a snap before a meeting or just before you wrap up for the day. Next, let's dive deeper than just fetching a single data point. I'm going to ask Copilot to draft an XLOOKUP function to pull details from the boroughs table. I'll be specific about the tables and the formula to use. This does assume you're somewhat familiar with how XLOOKUP works. It really highlights the need to have a solid Excel foundation in place before diving into what Copilot can do for you. Once Copilot crafts a function, you can copy the formula into your worksheet or insert it into your table. For instance, if an unexpected borough ID like 6 pops up as it does in our data here, you'll receive an NA error, which is not something you might want in a report or during calculations. So to fix this, I suggest tweaking the Copilot prompt to handle unmatched values by filling them in with other. I'll insert the improved formula into our workbook. Getting troubleshooting like this right means being precise with your instructions and really understanding what you need from your data and how Excel can help you. Lastly, what if you wanted to use relational joins in Power Query instead of XLOOKUP to merge these data sources and wanted Copilot's help? While Copilot can't automate every step of Power Query yet, it can guide you through the process with quite a bit of accuracy. Again, the key here is clarity. Specify your tables, the fields to merge, and more. Copilot will then steer you through the necessary steps to accomplish the merge. This ability to work with multiple tables marks a significant leap in what Copilot can do. While it's mainly been limited to working within single tables, it's now savvy enough to handle multiple tables simultaneously, bringing it closer to the everyday realities of many analysts who rarely have all of their data neatly in one place. Great job on taking additional steps in this exciting journey with Copilot. It's time for another knowledge check. The exercise file for this one is 0204 Chapter 2 Challenge, which contains the same product sales dataset as the challenge from Chapter 1. Let's build on the work you accomplished with that data and with Copilot. First, I would like you to add a total sales column that calculates the product of price and quantity. Although this field was part of the last chapter's dataset, it's probably best as a calculated field anyway. After you've added the calculated column, proceed to hide the price and quantity columns in the worksheet. Next, use Copilot to count the number of products in each category. Here's a tip. Requesting the distribution for the relevant column is an effective approach. The final task is to arrange the dataset by total sales in descending order. Good luck, and remember, you're always welcome to experiment with your own queries and methods as you explore the data further. I'll catch up with you in the next video. Welcome back. This challenge was centered on using Copilot to facilitate initial steps of data manipulation. Let's proceed with the exercise file named 0205 Chapter 2 Challenge. The first step is to generate a sales column. I'll instruct Copilot via the prompt guide to add a total sales column that multiplies price by quantity. Copilot generates a formula, price times quantity. Let's insert that into our table. Next, I no longer need to view the quantity and price columns, so I will hide them from my worksheet. Now, in this case, it looks like Copilot is having trouble doing this manually. You could try another prompt. Let's see what I have here. Hide the quantity column. I will try to do this one at a time and see if that helps. I did use the word columns instead of column. We'll see if that affects its results here. Okay, the quantity column is now hidden. So in a case like this, when you're having issues with Copilot fulfilling your request, try to break it down into individual steps. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. Hide the price column, singular. And it looks like breaking that down into individual steps was enough for Copilot to understand. Okay, let's continue on. My next goal is to count the number of products in each category. I'll direct Copilot to generate a visualization showing the category distribution. This results in a bar chart that clearly shows there are more electronics products than home goods. And if you'd like to insert this into your workbook, you can do so with Add to New Sheet. I'll continue on here and sort the data. Let's sort by total sales in descending order. Very good. Our data is now much easier to understand, and we've done some initial exploration. Did you achieve similar results to mine, or did you find any other interesting insights? In any case, nice work using Copilot for data profiling and exploration. Through this exercise, you're now ready to progress to the next phase of analysis, all thanks to the assistance of Copilot. At the heart of quantitative reasoning is a single question. Compared to what? This quote by data visualization legend Edward Tufte captures a fundamental principle of data interpretation and analysis. Within Excel, conditional formatting is an invaluable tool toward this end, enabling users to explore data variations and trends with ease. Even better, Copilot streamlines this process remarkably. Access the exercise file for this video, 0301 Conditional Formatting, which contains data on the 15 largest cities in the United States. Let's start with straightforward conditional formatting techniques. Get started by selecting Highlight from the menu of options in Copilot. To start, I'll highlight each city that is also a state capital. By instructing Copilot and specifying the highlight color, the task becomes more efficient. The same principle applies to other formatting styles, such as emboldening the 3 highest population density figures. Similarly, we can underline the values corresponding to areas ranging from 300 to 400 square miles. Excel offers a wide range of conditional formatting options to enhance your data representation. For instance, we can introduce blue data bars to signify population figures. When you need to manage these conditional formatting rules like deleting, editing, or modifying, Excel's legacy tools are your go-to resource. Navigate to the Home tab, select the Styles group, and choose Conditional Formatting, Manage Rules from the ribbon. From here, you can make any changes as desired. While asking Copilot to modify specific conditional formats often yields unsatisfactory results at this time, you can effectively use it to remove all conditional formatting from a table. By leveraging Excel and Copilot for conditional formatting, you can transform complex data sets into compelling visual narratives, facilitating immediate understanding and enabling quicker, more informed decisions. Now that you've used Copilot to enrich, clean, and even visualize data, let's look at some ways to generate and summarize insights using a combination of these methods. The exercise file for this video is 0302 Advanced Data Analysis. Here we have some sales data. Let's say I'm an analyst at this organization and my task is to analyze the data for any identifiable trends and relationships. I will start Copilot. And this time, under the prompt guide, I am going to select the last option, Analyze. Copilot is now primed to explore the table for insights. For example, I can ask it to visualize total sales by month of order date, and I get a nicely formatted line chart here. I will get a pivot chart summary of the data. Let's add this to the sheet to confirm. If it looks right, and it does to me, we can go back to our table and ask Copilot for more. Let's say I'm interested in digging into sales for a specific month. For example, I want to get total sales summarized by product category in June 2016 of order date. In this case, Copilot generates a pivot table summary for me. I can add it to a new sheet. And you'll see here we get a warning that if our data changes, make sure to ask Copilot for an updated answer. So some of these results are not going to update if your data updates in Copilot. This is usually the case when you're not given a pivot table or a formula back. So just be aware of that shortcoming here. I'm going to go ahead and head back to our table and continue on. So far, we've analyzed total sales as a general trend and by specific categories. This time, I'm going to combine this approach and see if we can find top-selling categories for each month of sales in this data set. So my prompt here will be a little bit more involved. We'll ask, what is the most popular product category by sum of total sales for each month of order date? You'll notice that I'm being very specific here about which columns I want by calling them out specifically by name. I'm even explicitly telling Copilot how to aggregate the resulting data. For example, it should be a sum rather than an average. This is going to leave far less ambiguity for Copilot to know how to proceed with this analysis. Here, again, we get a nicely formatted result. I will add this to a new sheet. And this is yet again a table and not a pivot table. That means that any updates in the data are not going to be automatically reflected. We will need to run Copilot again to get an updated answer. I hope you're seeing that Copilot can save you loads of time in analyzing your data, but you've got to make sure you're being very specific with asking Copilot for what you want. Otherwise, you can easily get misleading or even incorrect outputs in return for your prompts. Data visualization is vital for simplifying complex data, uncovering patterns, and effectively conveying findings to others. However, beginning a data visualization can be daunting. With so many chart options available, it can be challenging to determine the best starting point. Fortunately, Copilot can provide assistance by offering suggestions that inspire deeper analysis and improve visual representation. Consider the exercise file 0303 Data Visualization, which again contains data on the 15 largest cities in the United States. We'll begin by graphing the population of each city. Copilot suggests a bar chart, which seems like a solid choice. I will add this to a new sheet, and you'll see the results formatted here. I'm going to head back to Copilot, and let's continue prompting. We can continue the analysis by experimenting with different data aggregations. For instance, we might instruct Copilot to destruct the average city area by is capital versus not capital. Copilot gives us a summary of the data generated. We also get a chart here that, again, we can add into our workbook. Now, you notice that Copilot frequently favors bar charts in these situations, demonstrating an important principle of data visualization that while the urge to innovate for novelty's sake is strong, it's not necessary to be overly elaborate without cause. So we'll stick with the basics as Copilot does with a bar chart. They are a standard choice because of their simplicity and effectiveness in various contexts. I'm going to go ahead and continue here. Let's examine a situation where the bar chart might not be the best choice. For example, this could be when illustrating the relationship between two quantitative variables, such as area and population, and I'll do that in Copilot now. In this case, a scatter plot is more appropriate, which Copilot promptly provides. I can add this to my sheet and confirm the results. Currently, Copilot has limited functionality for customizing these plots, but Excel gives users full control over the process. For example, I might want to add a trend line to the scatter plot to examine the correlation between city area and population. In summary, Copilot facilitates data visualization by suggesting efficient and straightforward chart types like bar charts and scatter plots. It emphasizes that utility often trumps the need for novelty, leaving room for users to refine and personalize their visualizations. As the worlds of data analysis, data science, and generative AI converge, one language stands out as a glue holding them all together, and that's Python. Python has even been integrated into Excel, allowing you to run the language directly from your workbooks. While this alone was impressive, adding Copilot into this mix creates something truly magical. In this video, we'll explore how this combination works. Now, this does mean we will be coding with Python and using Python code. So if you're new to it, it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with Python in Excel first through the LinkedIn Learning Library. To follow along, you can download the exercise file, Advanced Analysis, Getting Started. I'm going to launch my Copilot on this Penguins data set just as I would with any other data set for Copilot. I will scroll up here, and there is now a new set of commands here. It says advanced analysis. Let's click on this addition to Copilot. We are going to get a couple of warnings here. This is going to create a new sheet for the results. It's going to automatically write and insert our Python formulas. And then from there, what we can do is custom prompt, and it will continue to answer our prompt with multiple messages. So this is going to start basically a new thread of Copilot. Let's start our advanced analysis. Click the button, and we're off here. You'll see first off, the data is going to get read into Python. We are going to get a preview of the data here. You're going to see that a lot of this output you'll see in two places. First, inside of your worksheet, there is also a log of what's being done here. So it looks like in this case, all Copilot really did was load the data into Excel. Again, Copilot can work in a lot of different ways. You might get different visualizations if you run this. Some of you may get different descriptive statistics or other methods for exploring the data. So it really just depends on what Copilot decides to do. And you're certainly welcome to close your workbook, open it again, and see what Copilot gets that time. Now that we're done with this initial exploration from Copilot, we're free to ask it whatever we'd like about this data set, and Copilot will continue generating our Python code, placing it further down in the workbook. So for example, I'm going to ask Copilot how many missing values are in each column of the data set. Okay, so Copilot was able to give us the results. We see the Python code here. We're not going to get too much into actually modifying and looking at this code. There are some great courses on Python in Excel in the library. You'll also see over to the side, you'll get a preview of what was done. You'll get a summary of what happened in that analysis. You'll also get some suggestions here about what may be some good new avenues to explore once you've looked for missing values. What's great here is that I can continue to add on to this prompt and get exactly what I want. So for example, maybe I want this expressed as a percentage. I could go ahead and ask Copilot to do that. And Copilot was able to return those results in a percentage rather than the whole number. So you could continue on exploring this data and doing your exploratory data analysis. But let's go ahead and move on to actually running a predictive analysis of this model. So for example, I'm going to ask Copilot if it can help us build this model. So you'll see I'm going to be specific about what I want it to predict, what variables to use. You can make this more open-ended. Again, just keep in mind that you need to be aware and cognizant of what Copilot is actually doing. I'm going to run this. We'll see what we get, and then we can regroup on the results here. So we will see here that Copilot does indeed build us a predictive model. It is giving us some statistics, telling us things about what the precision, recall, and F1 score are. If you're not familiar with these terms, then that's a good sign that you may want to learn a little bit more about predictive analytics and building these types of models. Just running it with Copilot and Python is one thing, but really interpreting the results is something else here. Last but not least, let's try to build a plot here or a visualization, as we have not seen one of those yet. I'm going to ask it rather at a high level to visualize the relationships in this data set. So we'll see what Copilot can do here, see how creative it can be. And again, keep in mind what you're seeing from me might be completely different than if you ask the script of Copilot too. So it looks like Copilot went with what's called a pair plot. What we're seeing here, and let's make this zoomed out here, we are looking at the relationships between each quantitative variable. We see the distribution of that variable along the diagonal. I kind of like to think of this as like a visualized version of a correlation matrix. We can also see that Python went and split the data points by species. So that just gives us a little more of a breakdown. And you can see that there are some pretty clear differences across species when it comes to these quantities. So there are a lot of different things to explore here. Really cool that we're able to build some visualizations and analyses that otherwise would have been pretty difficult in Python using just simple natural language. Of course, it's really important that we understand what these outputs are. We understand how these models work. The future with Excel, Python, and Copilot is really, really exciting. I hope that you see that here with advanced analysis. Time series analysis allows organizations to identify patterns, trends, and fluctuations over time. These insights are essential for accurate forecasting, strategic planning, and informed decision making. Although Excel has traditionally faced challenges with time series data, integrating Python within Excel has expanded its capabilities significantly. In this video, we'll delve into conducting time series analysis using Python and Excel, empowered by Copilot and advanced analysis. You can start by downloading the exercise file, Advanced Analysis Time Series Start, which contains monthly shampoo sales data spanning over 3 years. We'll input this dataset into Copilot and initiate a Python-powered analysis. Let's head to Copilot. We will go to Advanced Analysis, and let's start the Advanced Analysis. Now again, these results are very unpredictable. I couldn't tell you what Copilot is going to give us this time. Looks like we are getting a visualization in this case. We're going to get some statistics now, it looks like. And now the analysis is done. Good idea to briefly scroll through here, understand what we're doing here, exploratory data analysis. Okay, we're getting a plot of sales by month. We are getting descriptive statistics for shampoo sales, things like the average, the median, and so forth for a monthly sale. Okay, so that makes sense to me. Let's dive a little bit more into the descriptive analysis here. So for example, maybe we are interested more so in sales by quarter than sales by month. I'm going to ask Copilot to give us a chart showing total sales by quarter. Okay, now it looks like Copilot was able to make quick work of that. Let's scroll out here a little bit, and you will see that this quarterly plot has been created. You can dive into the Python code that was used to generate it, either over here, or you can dive right into the worksheet and see the code that was generated directly in that worksheet. Okay, now this is called advanced analysis, so we're not going to stop at just exploratory plots. One next step we might want to do is to examine the stationarity of the data set. If you're not familiar, stationarity in time series means that the statistical properties, things like the mean and the variance, things that we actually just looked at in an earlier step, remain consistent over time. And this is really important because many forecasting models are going to assume that our data set is stationary to ensure accuracy. So let's have Copilot assess the stationarity of this data. Okay, so Copilot was able to do some diagnostics here. It's running something called a Dickey-Fuller test. It is giving us things like p-values. So if these terms aren't familiar to you, again, it's a good idea to make sure you understand the methods that are being used by Copilot and by Python before you just take this and run. In this case, it is telling us that this data is not stationary. Let's go ahead and continue on here and get Copilot's opinion about what we should do next. So again, my goal is really to build a forecast here. I know now that the data is not stationary, although it would be a good idea just to kick the tires on this and understand at a deeper level how Copilot and Python got to that decision. But let's just take this as correct for right now. So I'm going to ask Copilot, given what you found about this data not being stationary, what sort of model might be good to forecast sales over the next 4 months? So this is kind of an open-ended question for Copilot, and we'll see what it gives us. Great. So we do get a result here. It's suggesting that we use what's called an ARIMA model. This is a pretty common forecasting technique. Autoregressive integrated moving average is what that stands for. We are able to build this model, again, using Python code generated by Copilot, and we see those predicted values there. Time series analysis, traditionally a challenging area for Excel, has become significantly more powerful with the integration of Copilot and Python. However, again, make sure you fully understand the models and techniques being used before presenting them as definitive solutions to your team. Excel's text processing capabilities, particularly for tasks like natural language processing, have traditionally been limited. But the introduction of Python in Excel significantly expands these capabilities, and now with Copilot and advanced analysis, gaining insights from text data becomes much more accessible. To follow along with this demo, you can open the Advanced Analysis Text Analysis Start workbook. We're going to be working with a well-known movie review dataset, which contains 50,000 movie reviews, pre-classified as either negative or positive in sentiment. We'll start by using Copilot to pass our data into advanced analysis and see what we can uncover. Let's head to Copilot. And we will go to advanced analysis. We'll see the same messages here. Let's start our advanced analysis. And again, what you see here might be completely different than what I get. So let's roll the dice and see what happens. Now, almost every instance of advanced analysis, or really every instance I've seen, starts with just reading the data in from the table. That's done up here with the XL function. If you see that from this first cell in the report here, you can learn more about how Python and Excel gets data from Excel with Python and Excel courses from the LinkedIn library. We do see a preview of the data set here. So just to make sure that this data has been read properly into Python and Excel. And now it looks like it is going to attempt to perform some exploratory data analysis on the reviews. Okay, so it looks like Copilot has completed our analysis here. And again, you could continue with some of these suggested prompts. Let's take a look at what the output logs, as it were. Here, we see a bit of information about what Copilot gave us, visualizations. Here are the visualizations. We'll go over those in just a second, but I do want to see something here. You'll notice that there actually was an error that Python threw when executing the code generated from Copilot. So Copilot generated some code, Python ran it, Python encountered an error, and Copilot was actually smart enough to take that error and rewrite it and tell you what the error was. And you probably don't care, right? Because it's fixed. But that just goes to show how intelligent these tools are, right? That they're able to really fix their own mistakes here. Let's go ahead and move down here to the resulting plots. So the first one, we get a bar plot. It's showing us the distribution of positive versus negative reviews. It displays it as a proportion. So we're looking at like a 50-50 split of positive versus negative reviews. That can be really good to know if we're trying to build any predictive models. We want to have a sense of how common it is to result in either category. So it looks like it's about 50-50 there. Okay, review length distribution. So this is pretty interesting. It shows us the overall distribution of how long each review is. Maybe we want to break this down further and know, is a longer review tending to be positive or negative in nature, right? So there's some different things we could do as it relates to the review length. The last thing we have down here is a word cloud. Now, what this is trying to do is visualize how common certain words show up in the data here. And it makes sense, things like film, movie, and so forth are common. I think it might be easier just to plot this as like a bar chart or something. People often criticize word clouds as being kind of hard to read and not really conveying that much actionable information. They look kind of cool, but really hard to make heads or tails of them sometimes. So it's interesting that in this case, Copilot gave us plots, right? Whereas in the last example, we had to ask for those specifically. You want to make sure that you're using visualizations and tables and analyses together with Copilot and Python. So again, good to understand and have good questions in mind already for what might be important. So one thing that I'm going to do is let's specify something a little further. I'm going to ask Copilot to provide the most common 15 words for either sentiment, positive or negative. Okay, now it looks like in this case, we do get an error that Copilot is not able to fix itself. I am heading over to cell A40, and it looks like we have a timeout error. So what happened here is this Python code is running. The results are being executed on the cloud and being sent back to our workbook. And it looks like there was just some kind of timeout. This is a larger data set, so we may need to just try again. I'm going to go ahead and just ask this again, and let's see if we can get lucky. This is a bigger data set, so I'm not too surprised that we're going to get a timeout here. I was able to run this earlier, so let's see what happens this time. Okay, now it looks like we were able to get a result here. However, the preview is not exactly in a very readable format right now. We could try to get a preview of it, but all we're seeing is this data frame value here. So what I'm going to try to do in this case is ask Copilot to visualize this and see if we can get a nice plot of these results. Okay, so it looks like this works. Let's zoom in here a bit, and you will see the top 15 most common positive words, right? Top 15 most common words in negative reviews, to be more specific. You can take a look at these. This does go to show how tricky it can be to analyze text and understand the meaning of text data. As you're going to see here, things like good and great do show up in the positive reviews. However, good actually shows up in the negative reviews as well. So we'll leave it at that, and you can explore this further if you wanted to perhaps ask Copilot to build a predictive model, asking, can it predict whether a movie review is classified as positive or negative? You could try that. But as you're seeing here, you really need to be able to roll with the punches and ask different things of Copilot, whether you're getting a timeout, whether the output isn't quite in a format that's easy to understand, right? Having that inquisitive mindset and really knowing the analyst toolbox of different ways to format the data, different ways to interpret the data, different diagnostics that you might want to run before you take an analysis as gospel is going to be really important as you work with Copilot and Python, because there's so many directions that this tool can take. So you just want to make sure that you can get exactly what you want via these prompts. This chapter focused on maximizing the use of Copilot for analyzing your data with visualizations, conditional formatting, and more. For this challenge, I've provided you with a new dataset. Your objective is to analyze it with Copilot's assistance. The exercise file for this challenge is named 0304 Chapter 3 Challenge. Begin by examining the average review column. Determine how closely each category approaches a 5-star rating by applying a data bar conditional format. Next, you'll analyze the potential correlation between average review and return percentage. Instruct Copilot to create a visualization for this comparison and then assess the outcome. Moving on to revenue analysis, I'd like you to chart revenue over time to identify any patterns or seasonal trends. Ask Copilot to generate this visual. Finally, let's delve into sales performance by category. See if you can find the leading product category by revenue. Work through these tasks and feel free to explore any other questions that pique your interest. I'll meet you over in the next video. Now it's time to harness Copilot for visualizing, analyzing, and enhancing our data insights. You can find the exercise file for the solution at 0305 Chapter 3 Solution. First, I will apply a data bar format to the average review column, which visually represents review scores. The longer the bar, the higher the review. This formatting quickly highlights products and months with subpar reviews, allowing us to search for underlying issues. Poor product reviews can negatively impact a business in several ways, including an increased likelihood of returns. By requesting Copilot to map out the relationship between average review and returns percentage, we obtain a scatter plot that clearly shows the inverse relationship. Higher reviews correlate with fewer returns. We can add this to the sheet or move on with the next prompt. Let's go ahead and look at revenue over time. For this one, a line chart is a great visualization as it illustrates an overall trend interspersed with periods of notable fluctuations. I will add this one to a new sheet, and you can examine the results as needed. No, it looks like this chart isn't visualizing. If you do have a case where the chart is not showing on your worksheet completely from Copilot, try to click the chart elements icon and add something like a grid line or a legend. That seemed for me to add the entire chart to my worksheet and make it visible. Now let's go ahead and return back to the source table. I am now going to identify the best-selling category. And it looks like in this case, Copilot gave us the answer in a couple of ways. Here I have the written out response. I can also insert this pivot table into a new worksheet. And it looks like for some reason that didn't register. We can't add it. So we have the number here. Looks like we could try again later and get the pivot table result as needed. So again, be flexible. Make sure that you can combine your own Excel skills with Copilot's to get the answers needed. Our exploration here reveals that even a straightforward data set like this one can uncover significant patterns and relationships with Copilot, proving to be immensely valuable in guiding business decisions. Are there any other insights that came up for you in your exploration? What stood out to you? Excel is an accessible tool for such analyses, and Copilot amplifies this utility, making it even more powerful for users at any skill level to extract meaningful information from the data. This course has delved into enhancing Excel's capabilities using AI and Copilot technologies. Congratulations on completing. This is just the beginning of a spreadsheet revolution. As we conclude, let's reflect on the trajectory of these developments. Copilot, still in its infancy, will evolve significantly as its adoption increases. The more it learns, the better it will perform. If you've experienced frustration with Copilot's current limitations or wish for more comprehensive Excel integration, be patient. This is only the start of Copilot. Even now, it offers valuable assistance in daily automation and analysis tasks. This anticipated increase in effectiveness underscores the importance of learning how to communicate effectively with AI. Mastering prompt engineering, the skill of creating precise AI prompts for optimal outcomes, is essential. For practical insights, I recommend exploring the awesome ChatGPT prompts repository on GitHub. Although tailored for ChatGPT, the principles found here are invaluable for Copilot users, enhancing your proficiency in AI interaction. Additionally, learning Python can be immensely beneficial for Excel users seeking to expand their AI expertise. Python, known for its user-friendly syntax, offers a wide array of AI libraries and frameworks. Integrating Python with Excel allows you to merge the familiar Excel interface with Python's robust AI capabilities, elevating your data analysis skills. AI in Excel is a continuous journey, and I'd be thrilled to have you join me on this path. Follow me on LinkedIn for updates on Excel and data analytics, and visit my website for more free resources. In conclusion, AI is not a threat but an enhancement to Excel, bolstering its inherent strengths. Each update and new feature transforms Excel into a more versatile tool for your data analysis needs. Your exploration with Excel and AI doesn't end with this course. Every data set you analyze and every insight you gain with the help of Copilot marks progress in this exciting journey.